Now, staying here in France, a new report commissioned by the university Sciences Po appears to show that French trust in the political system here is at rock bottom. It found a mistrust of institutions, a feeling that those in power aren't serving people's interests, and a broader sense of fatigue with the current political system. Well, let's talk about all of this with Antonia Kerrigan, who's been crunching some of the numbers. And Antonia, just give us then the key figures from this report.
Well, first of all, when asked, do you trust politics? 74% of the French people said no. That's obviously an overwhelming mistrust. It was already a poor situation a year ago. That mistrust is up 4% since last year. If we were to delve deeper into what exactly people have such mistrust in, you can break it down into different types of political figure. And when asked, do you trust the following type of political figure, they have very different answers depending whether we were talking about their mayor or their president. As you can see from that graphic there, people have much more trust in the closer proximity representatives than they do, for instance, more in their mayor than in their regional councillors, even more so again than in their MEPs. The person they trust the absolute least is the current French president, who, by the way, 56% of those surveyed blame for the current political crisis. Now, it's fair to say that France has been through the ringer in the last year, democratically, politically. President Macron last year, he dissolved parliament. He was calling the bluff of the far right, only to then lose a lot of trust within his own political camp, for the far right to then feel thwarted when they didn't get that win they thought they deserved, and then for the left to feel thwarted when they weren't invited to govern. I mean, it's been a whole enormous political turmoil, and of course all those who aren't particularly affiliated, they were left feeling massively thwarted as well, because they were tossed around in all of the political uncertainty that ensued. Which brings us to another question that was asked in this survey. Is democracy working well in France? Well, the result of that was also slightly disheartening. You've got 71% of the French people who say democracy is not working well. If you delve further into that, you have only 1 in 3 who believe that the current Prime Minister and government is legitimate to be governing. 73% believe that what's needed is a strong leader to restore order, etc., etc. I could go on. If there's one positive in all this, is that more people are taking an interest in politics. 55% say that they are interested in politics. That's 4% up on last year. However, of course, with an influx of interest in politics, that doesn't mean people are necessarily better informed, of course. So it matters more than ever in these moments where people are getting their information from, and that is high quality information, especially at a time of such anger.
Absolutely. And look, the figures that you highlight there are very stark, but actually the report goes beyond just political frustration, and it says that the French people are just kind of drained of optimism altogether.
It looks that way. If you look at the figures on the French people's state of mind, and you compare it to our European neighbours, you can see that France, compared to Italy, Germany and the Netherlands, is champion in mistrust, lassitude, moroseness. They don't quite come out on top in fear, but they come second in fear. Germany is 1% of the population in Germany is more fearful than in France. But so certainly when asked to characterise their state of mind, it's extremely negative, and that's not when they're asked about politics. That's really how they feel. So that matters. Another figure, a couple of figures I'd like to bring your attention to in this survey is when people are asked about their place in society, 64% feel that they don't receive the respect they deserve, and 67% feel that their living conditions are on the decline. So that's a majority, if you will, feeling marginalised. So it's hard to know exactly what to attribute that to, but all this political dispossession, you've got to imagine it could be linked.
Thank you very much. Interesting findings indeed, Antonia Kerrigan, for us there.